Hello and welcome back to my craft room. Yesterday I started making a little miniature world in this tin. I wasn't sure, I'd never tried filming the making of miniatures before, though I've done a lot of miniature making, because I wasn't really sure if I'd be able to handle filming it and being able to show you what I was doing clearly enough. I've watched it back now, I think it looks okay. Nobody's said anything about not being able to see what I'm doing or whatever, so I'm going to move on to the next step, and I'm really looking forward to this step. This is the most fun part of the whole project for me. So last time it was putting in the foundations and the lighting. So here we go. This is what I've got inside my tin. If I put the switch on, you can see that it's all lighting up, which is brilliant. I don't enjoy doing that part of it. Having said that, it's quite a buzz when it goes right. So now the next step in the little instruction book is to start on the hotel accessories. So there's hotel accessories, coffee shop accessories, and then you start doing the actual shops. So I think I'll go for the accessories today. This is, if you didn't see the first one, I'm going to put all these in the miniature making playlist, so if you didn't see the first one, you can go back to that. But this little kit came from, where's the box? I've lost the box, it's out of reach. It was a little kit that came from TEMU, and it only cost me £9.49 and delivery was free, so I'm very happy with it. And like I was saying yesterday, these little kits are so nicely put together and nicely thought out, and all the pieces are really accurately cut and everything, so as long as you're careful and you read the instructions and take your time, you can't really go wrong. But you do need a lot of patience and either really good eyesight or a visor like mine. I showed that on the previous video, so I won't go on about it now. Okay, right, so let's go straight on to the accessories. I probably don't need this here for a minute. I'm working in a bit of a mess here, but you can't see it, so that's fine. This time we're looking for D37. Now D37, all these D things are printed pieces that are in the back of the instruction leaflet. So it'll be here somewhere. Here it is. Oh, it's tiny. Really, really tiny. Keep the pages in the book for as long as I can. And sometimes you end up with pieces of them coming out, but there is piece D37, so we're making a book out of this by the look of it. You can see how tiny the pieces are. So, and it's important to cut them as accurately as you possibly can. Really helps to have good lighting. I've got my computer glasses on at the moment, which is easier than my old varifocals used to be. Sometimes I do need to use my magnifying visor. So here we go, I've got this tiny piece cut, and now it's telling me in what direction to fold it and where to glue it. Where you see the little, I hold that there, where you see the yellow squiggly line, that's where you apply the glue. There we go, I have folded the tiny piece exactly as it shows in the diagram, and then I'm going to put my glue there and there and stick these pieces together. So let's do, and it just, now for this I could probably just use a little bit of Pritt stick. So I'm using 3 different glues. I've got this fast grab clear kind of solvent based glue, and I've got this tacky PVA, but sometimes just a glue stick is fine, and it's dry, it's not a wet glue. It's certainly strong enough for doing paper things like this, so I'm going to try the Pritt stick. Glue stick, it's not a Pritt stick actually, it's a Bostik one. So I've just ended up putting glue along the whole strip actually, and then I've folded it in half. Basically what we've ended up with is what looks like a little magazine. Let's get that. So you've got a printed surface on both sides. Now it seems pernickety, but I don't like to see the white edges. Okay, so I've just got a little bit of it's called gathered twigs. It's just a dark brown ink. I could try just applying it straight to the piece that I'm working on, but this is such a tiny piece. If I need to, I will hold the piece with a pair of tweezers like this, then use my ink blending tool So it's very pernickety. And honestly, if you didn't do this, who would notice? But it matters to me. I don't want those white edges showing. I might even trim them a little bit if I need to, just to get rid of those white edges. There we go. That's my first accessory made. And it looks ridiculously tiny, but when you think this whole little world, buildings and everything, is being built into a tin. There we go. That's my tiny, tiny, tiny little magazine. Right, and I need to put this somewhere safe so I don't lose it. What's next? I love this bit. Okay, so this is a table lamp. So I need piece C4, and that was the golden screw. So I went through all of the pieces yesterday on that previous video, and I know my golden screw is in here. This is why I like to leave the pieces in the bags, at least to start with, because that hasn't printed very well, but it's actually got C on there, 2C. It's the second C bag, so it does help to find things a bit more quickly. So I also want C5. Now when I went through, I checked off what everything was, just in case there's any confusion later. So here we are, this is the C package. There's my C4, my golden screw. C5 is a small transparent bead, so I know exactly what I'm looking for. And one of the things I just love about these kits, and the slightly larger room kits, like I showed them in my TEMU order video the other day. I've lost one. Didn't do that very carefully, but it fell on the desk somewhere, so I will find it later. Hopefully, wasn't careful enough there. It's because I was chatting at the same time. So yeah, one of the lovely things about having these kits, and the larger ones like I showed the other day, is that they show you all these ideas for putting silly things like a screw and a bead together to make a lampshade. So what it's telling me here is to put glue on the top of the screw and then just put the little transparent bead on top of it. Couldn't be easier, could it? So I'm going to use my clear grab glue here, because that should be right, sticking glass to metal. This Beacon 3-in-1 glue is brilliant. It's not the cheapest. I buy it in like twin packs from Amazon. The thing that annoys me about it is that you always have to wait, so when it gets towards the end here, you wait so long for it to come down the bottle, and if I leave it, I've tried leaving it upside down but it leaks if I do that, and you can't afford to waste that little bit at the bottom. You need to use it all because it is expensive. I'm going to try and show you. See, if I wasn't trying to show it for the camera now, I would just go here, but you can't see that, so I'm going to have to bring this up nearer to the camera. So there's my little screw. I'm just going to put a tiny dab of glue on the top of it. The screw actually goes slightly inside the hole that goes through the bead, and that makes a cute little table lamp. It's so clever, ingenious, some of the things that they do. So that's my little table lamp. Isn't that cute? Okay, now we're going to make the cabinet, and it looks like the book and the table lamp are going to go on the cabinet. Yeah, it's just got B42, so the cabinet is all one piece. Woohoo! That's going to be easy then. Okay, so this is where I'd actually gone through all the pieces yesterday, and you can see I've written, what is it, B42. I've written B42 on there, so if there was any doubt, on the back of it, so there was any doubt, I can be sure I've got the right piece. And there's a little close-up of it. I find that a little bit too pristine looking, so I'm going to just use an emery board to just rough up the edges a little bit. Just make it look a bit less, I don't know, pristine. Now sometimes I'll do this and use different colours of inks to sort of distress the pieces as well. They're so tiny, you're probably not going to even really notice, but it makes me happy. There we go, and I could just take I've got left of ink on there, and I just prefer that. I just like it to look a little bit worn. So now all I've got to do is stick the pieces I've just made onto the cabinet as they show in the diagram, in the photo. PVA glue will do for this, and I tend to find it easier. Whoops. See, just squeezing that glue, the little puff of air that came with that glue was enough to blow that tiny piece away. Rather than try and add a tiny dot of glue, it's easier sometimes just to put a little dot of it on the surface you're working on and dip into it from there. I can take my little cabinet there, pick up the little book in my tweezers, dip it into a tiny bit of glue so I don't get too much, and then just pop it on. There we go. So there's my little book on the cabinet. There we go. That's where that's the right place for it to be. And there's my little cabinet. Just use my tweezers to just get rid of that. There we go. There's my little cabinet with the book and the little table lamp. And once it's all dry, I'll probably squash that book down a little bit. I'll have to do it now. Can't resist. There we go. I don't want to make it closed altogether because it has got an inside. There we go. My first completed little accessory. Now I need to put that well out of the way. Okay, wardrobe. So we need D41. So that's going to be D is all the pieces that are being cut out of the back. D41, which you fold in half and stick, and then B43, which is the wardrobe. Right, so here are the D41 pieces, and you can see there's a line through there to show you where it needs to be folded. So I think what I'm going to do is fold them before I cut them out completely. Right, and one thing I quite like using for doing these folds, sometimes you could do it with tweezers, but I like these pliers because they've got a straight kind of nose. So I'm going to use these. I'm going to place these along where you see they've printed the line, so I can be really accurate, because as I say, all the pieces are very accurate as long as you're ever so careful. So I've placed that exactly on the printed line, and now I'm going to fold. Still not perfect, but probably better than if I'd have just tried to fold it like that. Okay, that one's pretty, that one's much more accurate than the first one. Okay, so now I've got them both folded in the centres. Now I'll go ahead and cut them out completely and then glue them and fold them in half. Trying to get used to using these little decoupage snips, which I've had these for ages and sort of haven't used them, so I find them a bit odd, but they are supposed to be really good for cutting tiny fiddly things. So there we go. I'm taking my time and cutting them as accurately as I can. So I've just got the little ink pad this way now, and I'm just, yeah, that works better, that's easier. I'm just running it along the surface of the ink pad. So where you see the white edge there, that's what I want to get rid of. And there we go, it's gone. That kind of little thing matters to me. And there's my second little wardrobe door. See how tiny it is. I mean, that's my little fingernail. Here's that little wardrobe door against my little fingernail. Right, so now the next instruction is to stick these onto that little cut wooden piece. There we go. So I just got a tiny bit of glue on the back of that one, holding it with my tweezers, and I'm just placing it there. And while the glue's still wet, I can just move it over to fit where I want it to be, and then repeat on the other side. They're such tiny pieces that as long as I leave it undisturbed to dry, that should be enough to hold it in that position. And you won't see where that glue is behind because it will dry clear. Okay, so now we're doing the pendant lamp. I want C5, that's another one of those transparent beads. C3, that's what they call a golden torus, like a bead end cap. And then C11, I don't recognise that. It looks like it might be something, it says 3, it looks like it might be something you have to cut a little piece off. It's probably one of the little trims. So I'm going to look for those parts a minute. Found out what it was I dropped. It was the little C5 transparent bead. So I've got all the pieces I need. So there's my transparent bead and my little end cap thing, and then there's this piece of trim here which they're telling me to cut 3 links of it off, and then I'll just glue them all over as per the diagram. Come back, you don't need to watch me gluing them together. I'll come back and show you in a sec when that's done. There's my little pendant lamp all stuck together. Again, going to put that off to one side to dry safely. Okay, so now we're going to do the bed. Ooh. So I need B41, that came out of that laser cut sheet. 39, 40, 41. Let's do that first. So there was this die cut sheet, and I need 41, which is this piece. So I'm not just going to push it out, because sometimes these things will split, and these are very, very accurately laser cut, so it would be a shame to do that. So I'm just going to nick through just where you can see those little tiny bits where they're still joined, like there. I'm just going to nick through that with my knife, then push it out, and then just use the sandpaper that they put in the box just to get rid of that little burr, so everything will glue together nicely. So there's my 3 little pieces. I'm going to glue them together using the strong glue as per the diagram. There we go. So I stuck those pieces together. I've made sure I've sort of centered them, and I've made sure that they're stuck at the same kind of height on both pieces, if that makes sense. So the legs end up roughly the same height and it will sit level. So that's the beginning of my bed. Now I need C1. So we're looking at some of the fabrics now. So I need C1 back, it says. Cut out C1 according to the sheet template. Then C1 back, cut out according to the pillow template, and you roll it up to create the pillow. And then C2, that kind of tartan print, plaid print. You cut it according to the quilt template, and you fold as it shows there with the broken line. Okay, so, and when you come to cut these bits of fabric, you need to be accurate, because they are tiny bits of fabric and they're really precise, so cut them exactly as the template tells you, otherwise you might find yourself running out of fabric. I mean, if that happens, you can always, you know, find something else that will do, but it's annoying. So where's my template? Here we are. So these, at the end of the printed bits, you've got these templates. So there's the golden shining cloth cutting template, the red grid cloth. Oh, maybe that's what we use the back on. Okay, so let's first of all find out C1 and C2. Let's find out what those were. So looking back at where I checked off all my components in the first place, C1 is the golden shining cloth, and we're going to use the back of it. That's why it says back, because you don't want golden shining pillow, I guess. And then C2 is what they're calling red grid cloth, so that sort of plaid print. Okay, there's my C2, there's my C1. Ah, right, and they're saying to use the back. Now, I'm going to use that because I can't quite be bothered going and finding anything else, but I've probably got loads and loads of bits of white fabric that would do for this instead. But hey, let's see if we can do it with what they've given us here. So here's my little template. And I've got to cut one piece of the sheet and one piece for the pillow. So I could cut out those pieces and hold them up against the fabric. I don't know if I really need to. What's important is this is the size of the piece of fabric that you've got, and this is the size of the piece of fabric you've got, so you've got to use that layout. With this one, it might be that there's a bit more leeway and it wouldn't matter, but I know I've had them before where I haven't taken too much notice of the layout, and I have ended up coming unstuck and having to find a substitute. So I'm just going to cut my little pillow and sheet pieces out of here. I think I can probably just pencil mark through. There we go. I've cut my my pieces out according to the cutting template there. This one's come out a little bit larger. I'm not going to worry about that. I've got plenty of the fabric left to cut these two pieces. That's what matters really. So now I'm moving on to the next step. There we go. So I've folded my little sheet piece according to the template, and that will now fit just nicely on the bed. I'm going to put a tiny bit of glue in the middle there and just run it along the edges as well to make sure that it folds nicely over and drapes over the bed. So I want that sheet to sort of drape down the sides of the bed now. I want it to set like that, so I'm just going to put a clip on it for a minute. So I'm just going to clip it like that while that glue just sets to make sure that that sheet stays nicely draped over the bed. Meanwhile, I'll get the pillow done. I've just put a little bit of glue at either end, and I'm just essentially rolling it up to create a pillow shape. And I haven't got to worry about the edges fraying because this kind of fabric doesn't really fray. There we go. Hide the seam on the back. There we go. So I've rolled it up and just put a tiny dot of glue on the ends, and I'm just going to pinch that together. Just hold it for a minute while it sets. So hopefully now when I take that off, there we go, it's sort of sealed together at the end. I'm going to do the same at the other end. So now I'm just going to fray out all the edges of this little plaid piece. There we go. So they're all frayed out, and I've folded it over as per the template, and it's all, I'm ready to make my little bed. Just add a little bit of glue to pop that on. I might make an extra pillow for this one later. I like an extra pillow when I'm reading in bed. And then again, I'll probably put a little bit of glue, oops, on the top and slightly on the edges to make sure this drapes over. So a little bit on the top, a little bit on the edges as well. There we go. There's my little dinky bed. Now again, to make sure that that sets in such a way that it stays draped over the bed instead of springing up like that, I'm going to just clamp it shut for a minute. There we go. There's my tiny bed. I decided to slightly adjust it so that on this side it's all neatly made, but on the other side it's been turned down. I could find a really tiny bead and put chocolate on the pillow. So that one's going in my little stash of things I've already made. And that is all of the hotel accessories. So I think I'm going to finish it there and keep each of these videos really short and sweet, just put out one a day. So it doesn't all get a bit too much. Having a lot of fun with this. This is the bit I love the best. Hope you're enjoying it as well. Hope you're able to see clearly enough what I'm doing. It's not ideal, my setup, but I'm hoping I'm making it work. So thank you very much for joining me today. Again, I'll be back tomorrow with another thrilling instalment.